Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Sleep In Sunday, and welcome to Interview Day. Interview Day is the day that we pick out people that we love, people we think are cool and interesting and doing cool things with their life, and we pick their brain. And today it's Vrinda Sheth, one of my dear friends. I've known for a long time and love her family, her husband. Matter of fact, her husband is the one who sings our closing song.
That's right.
Jai Shri Krishna Bolo Jai Radhe. And we have her mom here too. Where's her mom? Annapurna Devi. She's here as well. And they are an incredible team. I really think, Vrinda, first I want to say welcome. Honored to have you. And Vrinda is an incredible author. And let me just read her official bio. Vrinda was raised in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition in Sweden. She is an alumni of the reputed Kalakshetra Institute, holding a first-class diploma in Bharatanatyam, Indian classical dance. She's passionate about bringing women's voices and stories to the center stage and is an author of the award-winning Sita's Fire Trilogy. She has a BA in English from the University of Florida and is pursuing a master's in literature. She lives in Florida with her husband and 3 children, and her website is sitasfire.com, and we're going to put that on the board right now. If you're listening to this on Facebook, I just want to welcome everybody. We do this every day of the week. You can join us on Zoom or anywhere that you get podcasts. But Friday and Saturday, we start at 8 a.m. Eastern time. I'm sorry, Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Otherwise, we're doing it live on Zoom at 5 a.m. Eastern time. It's the regular study of the classic, one of the biggest, most important books of the Vedic canon, the Srimad Bhagavatam. But today is a special day where we have a great guest. And Vrinda, welcome to the show. And we want to pick your brain because you just finished the 3rd book of the trilogy. How does that feel, birthing that book?
It is a truly amazing feeling because it's been, 10 plus years. I say that to not embarrass ourselves with how long it's truly taken to get here to the finish line. And it's really wonderful because as we were writing, as we were creating this, my mother and I, she's also here, beautiful illustrations. So all the illustrations on the book, these front covers, and inside there's 50 to 70. As we were creating this, we really, I think, we're in the process. So people would ask me, okay, what is the book about, and why are you retelling the Ramayana, and so many questions. And I would always feel a lot of hesitation because I was still very much in the thick of the process, grappling with the text, digesting so many things, researching. And now I am finally, at the end of the tunnel, and I see the light, so to say, where now I kind of can speak with confidence. Why did I do this? And what is it about? And so for me, it's a feeling of celebration all around. And I'm so proud of my mom's work. And getting, as an artist, as an author, there's always, grappling with my own abilities, but I also am getting to a point where I feel like I have something very valuable and important to bring forth into the Ramayana storytelling tradition. So yes.
I think you do too. And your mother's art is actually incredible. Incredible. First of all, if you don't mind, I'm gonna wind it back a little bit. Your parents, you were raised in an ashram. That in itself is a very interesting thing. And sometimes it's an interesting thing in a probably a wonderful way and probably sort of a little crazy way. Because if anybody's ever spent any time in an ashram, it's generally not normal. It's generally a little unique. It's like living in a commune almost. And it's an interesting phenomenon, actually, just the fact that there are ashrams and householders that are living in ashrams. It's an interesting phenomenon just to, you have to sacrifice a lot of freedom. And I think Kaustubha and myself, who in our 20s moved into an ashram, you sacrifice a lot of freedoms, and then there's some bigger payoff. And the bigger payoff is complete immersion. You're not worrying about bills, taxes, switching the car from one side of the street to another side of the street.
Opposite side of the street parking.
I guess you still have to pay taxes. I don't know. I don't think I paid taxes. Yeah. Opposite side of the street parking, like if you live in New York.
No.
So what you run into an ashram, I found, was some very, very focused people, very, very lucid thinkers, very, very like disciplined, characters. And then you run into some sort of like unique or eccentric people that just don't even just fit in the material world for good or for bad. They don't fit in the material world. And to grow up in that, I consciously did not raise my family in an ashram, so I can't speak for it. But I think your generation, your parents' generation of devotees, they had a lot of connection with Prabhupada, who's the Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement. And I think there's something to be said about these people that met him and they just dropped everything and said, I'm just going to dive into this full force. And there's something, I think whenever you meet a person who's incredibly focused, there's something incredibly deep about those people and incredibly something off balance about those people because it's like a virtuoso at piano. They can't be balanced because they're totally focused on their art. And so they can't do anything else to really get great at that. And so there's like a beauty of that generation with all the dysfunction that goes with it too. What was it like for you to grow up in that ashram? You want to share anything about that?
Yeah, when we chatted yesterday, so much came up for me and I was thinking there's just no way that I can even address this in such a short span of time because there's been so much for me to digest and so many experiences to take a stance to as an adult. But I'll just start with the payoff because I like that you say that there is a payoff to it. There is, all our experiences, there is going to be a payoff even to something that maybe doesn't initially seem that way. And so the payoff for me now as an adult is that I was so deeply immersed in Indian culture, Krishna culture, Bhakti, the Ramayana, the Bhagavatam, all these, stories, they're really the backdrop and the ocean that I was dipped into as a child. And that goes a long way to even explain why am I doing this Ramayana work. It's because as a kid, I wasn't allowed to watch TV or even read other books. So it was all Ramayana, Mahabharata. Bhagavatam was like our story time, and so there is a payoff as an adult where I just have a very close relationship to these texts that I find to be very nourishing. And, as life moves on and you realize how traumatic just being a human being can be or will ultimately be, I feel really grateful to my parents today that I have something to fall back into. I have some kind of anchor. I have something to soothe me in those dark times of the soul. So I do feel grateful now as an adult. I'm hitting my midlife point here. And I think it took me almost till very recently to come to a place of gratitude, because I just felt so much anger, really. I mean, why did you raise me in such a crazy way? I mean, my dad lived in the brahmachari ashram even as a married man, and my mom and I lived in a little room, and it was absolutely a commune. I mean, we didn't have a kitchen of our own. I took all my meals in the temple. I was a devotee, temple kid, you know, running around. They're all doing their devotional service and, you know, just all dedicated to Krishna, which, you know, is beautiful. But then as a child, I felt quite, you know, very neglected, very much like I don't have, you know, I'm just an obstacle to their devotional
Sure.
service. And that was something very painful for me.
Well, I could
And,
say as a
you know,
parent myself.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I wanted you to finish your thought, but I thought you were finished there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like I could just go on and on. You know, there's just so much there that, you know, especially as I, you know, live in America and interact with American people. You know, I eventually went to college. I actually did not even interact with, you know, regular, normal people until I was 17, and I graduated from the ashram. And then I went to college, and that was a huge, just, oh my gosh, like I was just shocked, this interacting daily with regular people and discovering, oh my God, they're people too, and they have emotions, and, you know.
Yeah, lives and
So
stories.
I had really, yes, I was raised in such an isolated way from the regular world, and that's definitely something I'm doing different with my kids. I want them to have a foot in each world and be confident to move in both spheres.
Well,
but yeah, so
I think it's
there's
understandable.
just so much that,
you know, I'm sorry, as a parent, I always second guess, like maybe I should have like done it more stricter with my kids. There is more of a, I'm sort of like right in that in between, but there's no like ashram or temple near me. If I want to have a spiritually focused household, I have to be like leading that charge. And it's a lot of work. When there was actually, you know, when I first got married, and my wife had 2 little kids, we lived on that block where the temple is in Los Angeles. And there was a support of a community. Like you walk out the door and some guys chanting japa, walking up and down the street. There's a festival on the block. There's a temple across the street. There's a restaurant. So you couldn't help but think about Krishna. It'd be part, because in this bhakti thing, it's not church for an hour a week. It's like integrated with your life. And so I have appreciation for your parents who are so focused. And I do second guess the way I raise my kids, but I don't know if there's a correct formula to do it. And it's not like, because I'm going to get challenged with all these things that kids go through and what they're exposed to at very impressionable ages. So there's a lot of pressure there too. I don't think anybody gets a pass from worrying about their kids or how they grew up or what their influences were. And I think every good parent tries their best, and they throw their hands up at the end to see what happens. But you came out pretty good.
Oh, for sure.
And your husband came out pretty damn good.
That's what my dad keeps saying. Yeah, my dad keeps saying that. Well, look how great you are now. So I must have done everything right, you know. And I'm just keep my mouth quiet. Yes, thank you. But, you know, having kids of my own now, for sure, you know, I have 3. My smallest is only 7 months. So that brings a lot of forgiveness, a lot of compassion to my parents, because, you know, it's not easy raising a child, even in the best of circumstances. I have a loving husband. I have a beautiful network. My mom lives close by. His parents live close by. So I'm just very blessed. And even then, it's a lot, you know, children really bring you to your edge. And so I just look back at, you know, my parents who didn't, you know, have the support system and no information about parenting whatsoever. And, you know, I feel as a parent myself, I can bring a lot more compassion and understanding to my own parents now.
How the heck did you write a book? You got 3 kids, you're married, you got your family around you. They're part of a whole community. You're a dancer. When the heck do you have time to not write like a little book? You write a giant trilogy. How did you fit that into?
It's pretty fat. Yeah, look at this.
Fat. How'd you fit
book.
that into
this
the program?
One, and it's
I don't have time to do anything.
Yeah, well, well, I actually started writing this when I was studying dance in Kalakshetra in my early 20s. And it was a very therapeutic way because I was so engaged with my body. You know, I was very intensely doing this training. Bharatanatyam is all about, you know, stomping your feet, and it's very vigorous, but it wasn't necessarily so intellectually stimulating. And it just happened that my mom, who's the illustrator again, her initial author dropped off the project. So she came to me and said, well, why don't you write this? And I had never in my wildest dreams ever thought, oh, I want to retell the Ramayana, you know, because again, I come from a tradition where it's like, we revere our texts so highly and we feel like they're perfect and they should never change and they have never been changed and we need to just keep them as they are. So it was with extreme, you know, trepidation and just a lot of fear and self-doubt that I entered into this process of retelling the Ramayana. It wasn't something that I, you know, had dreamt of doing. But, you know, my mom requested me and I wrote a sample and the publishers, they loved it. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And, you know, I have to give my mom credit for seeing something in me that I couldn't see. And that just shows me, you know, what a intuitive and connected mom she was, even when I felt, you know, oh, they don't care about me. They're just, you know, she saw something in me because once I actually started doing the project, it opened up a huge world because the Ramayana has a rich storytelling tradition. I mean, there is just no such thing as like one authoritative version. There are so many different versions, and every author who comes to it is going to bring their thoughts on some of the more problematic sections. They're going to, you know, try in a respectful way, hopefully, not always, but a respectful way to solve. Why did this happen like this? This doesn't make sense with how we view this character and like that. So, you know, I have been in that meditation for the past, you know, so many years. And then being a mother, to bring it back to how did I do this with kids and everything, I found that, you know, especially being a mother, when I spent so much time almost isolated from the world in a way with my first child, nursing, putting her to sleep, you know, so much time was just spent with taking care of her needs and me and her. Again, I found myself in a space where I had, you know, I'm lying at night trying to put her to bed for hours, and I had a lot of space in my mind to just, I don't know if you can call it downloading or what it was, but my mind was extremely frantically occupied with telling this story. And that's when actually this story was birthed, Shadows of the Sun Dynasty. You know, I guess I had been researching and thinking and grappling with the story. And at some point it just clicked and it was like, boom, 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 boom. This is how it's my vision of how it all went down. Because, you know, again, my passion is to bring the female characters, like really bring them into the story. And there's so little about them in the original text, which actually frees me up then to really meditate on how they get to the points that we do know. You know, we have these little snippets when they do speak or when they do appear. And then, you know, I look at that very closely and then see, okay, how did we get to this place? How can we be with the character from the beginning and really understand their motivations and really get why they're behaving in this, you know, otherwise bizarre way. So yeah, being a parent has been a huge blessing and actually made me more productive, I have to say.
Right.
You know, I've read where you said as growing up, you were more comfortable or more attracted maybe to the Mahabharata than you were to the Ramayana.
Of course, for sure.
Could you explain why that would be? What your feelings were?
Well, I mean, there are two ways. One is, you know, attending Bhagavatam class as a kid, we're more plugged into the Mahabharata because, of course, even the Bhagavatam opens with the Mahabharata. So, you know, and the characters there are referenced again and again. So we're just more intimately, as, you know, our particular Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we're more concerned with the Mahabharata and Krishna. And, you know, so there was that. I was just bombarded with more information in that sense. And then I felt like there are more characters in the Mahabharata that are easy to love. You know, Arjuna is so heroic and Bhima is so strong and Yudhishthira is so righteous. And, you know, so it was easier to maybe just immediately love them. And then the other reason that wasn't so clear to me as a child, but became more clear to me as an adult, especially when I approached retelling the story, was that, you know, we hear glorifications of all these characters. You know, Sita is the perfect woman, she's the perfect queen, and then Ram is the perfect man, the perfect king. And then when you actually start reading the story and the characters begin acting in ways that aren't consistent with our idea of this is what a good person does, then that's painful. I mean, I think in all of us who grew up, I mean, I think I can just speak for all my friend circle. They'll be like, yeah, the Ramayana is difficult. It's hard. It's not so easy to understand. And it's almost easier to avoid it in a way, because if we don't want to also, yeah, it's just easier to maybe just avoid it, because Ram behaves in certain ways, especially with his wife, you know, Sita. And I don't want to spoil the story for, I don't know how well versed everyone is, and I want you to pick up my books and read it. So I don't want to.
So we should be avoiding
them.
your books, you're saying? Is that what I should get out of the conversation?
You can avoid the original Ramayana until you read my books, and then go and read
Okay.
The original.
but
yeah.
I
So
can,
I mean,
I'm saying
just
it
to
makes
wrap up
sense
that,
to
you know,
me.
I
Oh,
really,
please.
yeah, no, I really had a wound in my heart with Ram. You know, I really wasn't sure. I was like, I don't know if I can tell this story, because it is about Ram and he has to be the hero. And I just don't see him that way. I'm so mad. I'm so angry. It feels like such a wound in my heart that he behaved in these like seemingly unacceptable ways. And, you know, and then that people praise him as the greatest man, the greatest king. How is all this possible? You know? So I definitely had that coming into the story, and it's been a really beautiful journey of transformation, you know, working on my relationship with Ram, really.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. You know, even, you know, in my own reading of it, you kind of you get to the end and you're like, well, why did it have to end this way? You know, like it could have just been a happily ever after. And I could especially imagine from, you know, from a female perspective, you know, all the more so, you know, and I won't get into the details of it. You say we won't have any spoilers, you know. But you know, there was a film that was produced, another unique telling of the Ramayana called Sita Sings the Blues, which was a animated film by Nina Paley that it had to do with she kind of juxtaposed Ram's relationship with Sita with her own divorce and her husband leaving her in the film. Like it's like they're both put together. And you know, like Roger Ebert wrote a review of that film, and he's just like, well, Ram is this horrible spineless character who, you know, and it's like, well, you really can't get any other impression from her film. And I read in an interview with her where she said, well, you know, why did Ram leave Sita? Why did my husband leave me? There's really no answers to these questions. And I thought to myself, well, you know, I guess from someone that's not within the tradition, you might see it that way. But within the tradition, there is a way to kind of diving in and trying to understand those mysteries, you know, that could involve, you know, contemplation and prayer and inquiry and so on. And going really deep within, you know, like a spiritual quest. And it seems to me like that's exactly what you did. Like you were asked to take up Ramayana and not Mahabharata. Maybe you would have preferred to have been asked to take up Mahabharata. But
Yeah.
the opportunity forced you to go deeper into that. And you're right that there was one incident that really forced you to do that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
On the airplane.
Yeah, on the airplane.
Oh, when I lost my, okay. So yeah, I had finished writing manuscript 2 for book 2.
Yeah.
And then I forgot my laptop on the plane, and it was gone. My work, I had finished the entire book, and it was just gone, my laptop. And you know, and then, you know, I had to be like, okay, mom, yes, I should have backed it up, because she's always very techie. So she was like, you have to back up your files. And there I am, just like a spaced out non-techie person, and I didn't do that. So I only had one copy, and it was literally like snatched from me. And so I was just crying in bed, like, all this work, why? You know, and then, you know, we all, I feel like, you know, we do just automatically turn to God and just why did this happen? I was just so
Ram.
devastated. Yeah, why did this happen? And just this silence settled upon me, and I was like, oh my God, this happened because I haven't yet resolved my relationship with Ram. I just was like, okay, I'm going to write about Lakshman. I'm going to write about other people. I just, really avoided Ram. The kind of, when you're mad at somebody, you leave the room when they come in. So I was kind of doing that. I would just like glance at him. Oh, there he comes. Oh, I'm going to see you later. And I just realized, wow, this is not going to work. I mean, if I'm going to tell this story, I have to face this head on.
To work this out.
And I have to be in dialogue. I have to really look at this, look at my own feelings, look at him, and be honest enough to say, I am angry. Yes, this hurts me. And why? Why did this happen? And it's funny, Kaustubha, that you also came to the end of the story and you were kind of like, oh my God, couldn't this have ended in a little happier way? Why did it have to end like this? So, even within the tradition as a devotee, as a bhakta, you were also left with that, like, oh my God, now I have to think about this more. And on that note, one thing that I discovered that kind of just sets the broader picture, it doesn't solve really any of our questions or any of our, hurts, but the broader picture is, Valmiki composed this, he invented the shloka. And the way he did this, he saw two birds mating, and they were shot while they were mating by a hunter, and it falls down and made it cry. And he was so devastated by seeing this. He felt it was so, oh my God, and that moment to be killed is just so brutal. And it was in that moment he spit out these words or dropped these words that then became the shloka meter. So they say from shoka means grief. So from his shoka came the shloka. And so it's like the meter itself, it lends itself to tragedy. So the Ramayana is not a romance, it's not a happy tale. It is more a tragic tale. There is tragedy there. So when I realized that, I'm approaching this with expectation, like this is supposed to be happy, this is supposed to make me feel good, and but it's not. It's more of a tragedy. It has a lot of tragic elements to it, and that kind of reframed my broader expectation of the work itself. And it fits really neatly into, Valmiki is the original, the oldest known version of the Ramayana is by Valmiki, so it has a lot of authority over the entire tradition. So
cool.
And then I could also say about Nina Sings the Blues.
Yeah, Sita Sings the
All
Blues.
I want to say, Sita Sings the Blues by Nina Pelli. All I want to say about that is I actually only watched it once. There was this great uproar about it, and she even received death threats, and it was just like, how dare she do this? This is just abominable. And it was just
kind of a Hindu nationalist.
She got, and that frightened me, because that kind of feels a little bit, like, someone being beheaded for showing a cartoon of Muhammad, that's not respectful, and we don't, perhaps, but at the same time, does someone deserve to receive death threats and to, because they have approached the story differently? So it just, showed me that there is so much attachment to the Ramayana, and there will be, so that even gave me more fear, like, oh my God, wow. And I'm also, in this genre, kind of like working with this text, and like, are people going to be very upset with me? Are they going to, hate me? Are they going to send me hate mail after this comes out? It really informed my process too, or just, put a lot of question marks in my process, seeing,
Have you encountered anything like that?
I mean, to my immense shock, I've actually only received,
appreciation,
for the most part,
awards.
quite, awards, and from other devotees whose opinions I care about. They have given me a lot of love, a lot of support, and I'm still waiting for my first big critic to come up and be like, burn this book, or like, I'm fortifying myself for that moment. So
well, that's the beauty of a person, and that's the beauty of your parents raising you the way they did. There are parameters which we speak in, and none of these books are meant to be taken from here and there randomly, and then we just give our own opinion about them. You do it right. And when I heard that you gave some of your own personal opinions and sort of veered away, I do this all the time too. I'll tell a Krishna story. Mara knows the deal. I just tell stories and I embellish them. And Mara's thinking in her mind, that never happened in the story. It doesn't matter. As long as you bring it back to the point of the story, which I'm sure you've done. If you haven't seen these books, and if you have a library, they're beautifully illustrated, hardbound, put up by Mandala, which they put out the nicest, most beautiful books ever. I'd love to get in Annapurna and ask her a question as a parent. Is she here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Annapurna, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you.
I have an appreciation for you as a mom because I'm a dad,
Yeah.
and first, I think you must be so happy to do this with your daughter. Because I was thinking to myself, imagine if I did this with my son or daughter. That would be like the most gratifying thing as a parent. Like when I take my kids to India and I see that they have a genuine attraction and are diving deeper into the culture, the lifestyle, and the philosophy. That's the joy of life for me. That is the highest pleasure I could get in life. How do you feel about that? I mean, can you tell us about the experience about creating this, like literally a masterpiece that people will have forever? For generations on. How do you feel about that? Doing it with your daughter?
It's a feeling, I can't express it in words. It's too overwhelming, because it was, Vrinda has expressed, she felt neglected, her upbringing, a little bit not very normal upbringing. And she has also expressed that she had lots of anger. So as a parent, it was devastating for me to realize what we had done to our daughter, that she felt this way. So, it's beyond, it's like, how could this happen that I got this opportunity to work with this beautiful soul and do this. I didn't plan to do it. It's just something that gradually manifested. It's been an organic process. It was okay. I'm going to ask my daughter to do the Ramayana so that I can use I already had pieces of artwork that I didn't want to throw in the garbage. So I needed a writer, So, and it triggered, she has told how it triggered something within her that she didn't know, because I could see from her essays, from schoolwork, that, wow, she has a gift here. And she didn't realize that. So maybe I became a little instrumental to push her on, because she has been able to develop as an author, and at the same time she has been deepening her spiritual understanding and come to I think it's been a healing process for both of us.
First of all, thank you for sharing that and being so vulnerable about it. I am going to personally give you a pass from feeling, I tell you, it's hard to raise kids. What was that, man? Mara, can you look up that Oscar Wilde quote on children and resentment? It's not just how you raise them, but it's like, you can raise them perfectly and they can still be upset. Now I'm going after you now, Vrinda. Hold on a second here. Okay. You can raise kids perfectly the best you can, and kids will still grow up resentful of their parents. I'm dealing with it myself.
Even though you're a perfect
Mara, what do you
parent.
got?
All right, I got children begin by loving their parents. As they grow older, they judge them. Sometimes they forgive them. Is that the one?
That's Oscar Wilde talking. But it's one of those things, and it's hard, and we're left like thinking and thinking and thinking, like, where did I go off? I'm going to just share with you right now. You're perfect. You're wonderful. You're amazing. Thank you for parenting this child, because she's an amazing. Vrinda is an amazing woman, and ever since I've known her, I've always appreciated her. And I was thinking, man, I hope my daughter can grow up and dance like she dances, because we've done retreats together. And I've seen her dance, and I've seen her speak, and I've seen her play musical instruments, and I've seen her, and before I even knew of her books, just those things, I thought, how can I give those to my children? How can I give that foundation so they're not just absorbed in pop culture? And I was thinking, it comes down to a very focused parent. And I wish I could have been more focused when my kids were small. And so I'm going to give you a gold star, a crown today for you to wear, because she came out wonderful. Vrinda, we actually love you. And thank you for sharing that in all humility. And I know parents have to work things with daughter, but you're wonderful, Annapurna. I'm really impressed by you.
You know, you have to give credit, because as we become adults, we make our own choices. She could have gone a different way, you know. She could have held on to her resentments, but she decided to take a different approach. So I only, you know, try to stay in the background and, you know, like trying. I mean, it's a lifelong. You are a parent the rest of your life. And your children, they will not stay children. They will grow up and become their own individuality, you know, with their own opinions, and they might not do what you expected or what you. So I just felt that the way to approach my daughter is with humility and asking for forgiveness for the wrong things that I did, you know. So
I think that first generation of bhakti practitioners in America, you know, everything was an experiment. And I think, you know, the parents, it was coming from a good place. They wanted to give their children the best opportunity, but they didn't necessarily have all the experience to understand what that looked like. And I think Vrinda, now, you know, she's the next generation of parents. And, you know, they can learn all the good that was given to them, and really generally from their heart appreciate the experiences that were given to them, the knowledge that was given to them, the culture that was given to them, but also, you know, learn from the mistakes as well. And I think, you know, as a bhakti movement in the Western world, it's come to its next stage of maturity, hopefully, and I think everyone's trying their best, you know.
I'm not even in the ashram thing, and I'm trying my best and struggling like anything too. I think just like the raising of kids, and I think also we all go through this thing where the kid has to work through anything they have. And it wasn't until I started having kids that I started forgiving my parents and realizing, oh, I get it. This ain't easy. Balancing all these things is not easy. And my parents had 7 kids. We had 5, they had 7.
Can I ask Annapurna a question about her art? Because frankly, you know, it's a shame that for most of our listeners are, you know, just audio only listeners. So we can't really show the art. But the art is just really, really like heart melting stuff. You know, it's super beautiful. These depictions of Hanuman and depictions of Rama and Sita, and the depictions of the Rakshasas and everything. They're incredibly creative, and they're super beautiful, and they move the heart, you know, which is really what bhakti art is meant to do. So I just want to share my appreciation for the art and encourage people to check it out. But I also read that for you, it was almost like a constant struggle to produce this art, and when you finally finished, it was just like a huge relief. is that you know?
Well, that's partially my fault, because you know, I don't think she envisioned me to write such a fat book, and then suddenly we had deadlines, and I wrote yet another chapter, and she was just getting headaches by my prolific output. That's part of it, but I'll let her answer.
I just want to mention, once I interviewed an Odissi dancer, and she expressed to me how by having to perform the role of Radha, she had to meditate on Radha so deeply that it really enhanced her devotional life. And we just heard from you how your feelings towards Ram, who is ultimately like Lord Vishnu and God, like you had very mixed feelings, and by going into the writing of this book, first the dancer goes deeper into the dance, and how that bhakti art affected her realizations about Radha. And here you have, like, through your art of writing, in the bhakti context, how that affected your heart and your relationship with Ram. So I'm wondering, with Annapurna doing the now a third bhakti art of painting, when you sit and meditate, obviously if it was burdensome for you, you really wanted to get things right, I assume. And what did that process involve? Does it involve prayer? And how did it affect you, like your devotional side?
Well, the problem here is that I joined in my early 20s, and by nature, I'm artistic. But I didn't have any opportunity to express myself artistically for many, many years, because as a pioneer, there were so many services that were considered more important, and I'm a little quiet and a little shy person, so I didn't want to. Well, here I am. I want to work with art. I can express myself like that. So when I started to do the Ramayana, it's the illustrations for the Ramayana. If you look at the piece, any art form requires skills, dedication. It's a learning curve. And with fine art, it's the same. So I started from a platform where I didn't know anything. So I basically didn't have any education, or background to do illustrations. So that's one of the main things that made it difficult. I had to figure everything out because I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have a mentor to guide me through the challenges that comes with expressing yourself artistically. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things I actually want to show. I just recently, a few days ago, I took an online workshop in making vignettes for, and I wanted to show you this piece I did.
Yeah, remember, we can't see so much. There's only 100 people
maybe
here.
Maybe you can see this. Look here.
No, in other words, 100 people can see it right now, but most of our listeners are audio only. But it's a super beautiful painting of a calf. Wow.
And my preferred media, we are all different personalities, and it's always been very important for me to listen to myself. Where do I want to go in life? What do I want to do? How do I integrate my spirituality into me being an artist? So since I prefer to communicate through art, I just, this piece of this calf that I did, we will have a little online exhibition, and I will call this "Please Don't Kill Me. I'm a valuable animal."
How could anyone?
So that's my way of, because I love animals, that's my way of telling that why can't we treat these valuable animals with dignity and respect and give them a nice life, So that's just an example. So with the Ramayana, I don't think I knew what I was getting into. I thought it would be, not so extensive. It just grew because of Vrinda's writing. She said, you know, like the first book is like 500 pages. Oh my gosh. And if I get into something, I really am a little bit perfectionist. Perhaps people can relate to that, you know, so I cannot just do something half-heartedly. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to have like a piece of illustration for each chapter, and even more, you know, so it became a little bit overwhelming. That's why I, you know, now I sit back, relax, and when I take out my brushes and pencils, and I have learned so much in the whole process. Now it's just a pleasure. And it's amazing. And I feel that I can grow, you know, getting older, but it's not that you have to retire and sit back. Now I can start to grow as an artist even more. And yeah, me and Vrinda, we are creative people, so we have more projects in store for you guys.
What's
good?
I wonder what's
Thank
coming
you.
next.
What's next in store, Vrinda?
Oh, so many. We have so many ideas, and it's just a matter of trying to be practical and understand that we're limited, which I have a hard time accepting. But so we still got to decide which one to do.
Well, I think painting also, just like you're writing and you're putting your mind in, you're putting yourself in Sita's position. You're really meditating on what was Sita. And also, there's also, you know, other female characters. There's Kake. There's
Mantara.
What's the
Mantara.
What's the hunchback's
Mantara.
name?
Mantara.
Did you put yourself in Mantara's mind? If you don't know Mantara, she's like the evil hunchback giving bad advice. She represents all bad advice. And you're meditating on these beings?
Oh my gosh. So Mantara is my basically all-time favorite character from book 1. And it was really a joy to go into her, you know, kind of evil, crooked mind and understand, like, why did she become this way? And one of the principal things that I really bring to it, which I've never seen anybody else do, is I really went into her physical ailments. You know, nowadays you can get treated if you have kyphosis, which is hunched back. You can get treated for it. You know, they put a rod into your spine and fix it up and like that. But at that time, there was no treatment for it. So her condition was extremely painful, and it only gets worse with age, and it puts compression on your internal organs so that you can't really breathe, and you get other digestive issues, and you usually don't live very long. So, I mean, you know, all of us in perfect health tend to be grumpy at times, and what to speak if you're living with, you know, a chronic disease. So part of her grumpiness and her evilness, I feel, I could really see that it came from her living with chronic pain and not being treated for that. And
Let's
then what I also should add is
give her a pass. Everybody's got a backstory, and no pun intended.
Yes, oh, for sure, for sure. And then the other thing, you know, that I had to look at is Vedic culture. You know, at the time of the Ramayana, you know, we like to look back at it as like a utopian time that we want to move back towards. And, you know, we have a golden lens, at least, you know, being raised with it, that's how I was taught it. But then, you know, I really had to confront the fact that, you know, someone like Mantara, it wasn't an equal pass. It wasn't like, oh, you're beautiful the way you are and you can be anything you want to be. And it doesn't matter what you look like.
Mantara.
Just be you, do you, Mantara. Like, that was not the message. Somebody like Mantara was considered an inauspicious person because karmically she was marked by her past evil deeds, so to say. So she wouldn't have been allowed at birthdays or auspicious events or in temples because of her crooked body. So, you know, there was a lot of stigma around somebody of her nature, of her physical deformity. And I really work with that, because then I'm asking, okay, well, how did somebody that had not just a physical, you know, she had that, but then how did she work against even the societal stigmas and rise to the position where she's basically, you know, the right hand person of Kaikeyi, who is the favorite.
favorite
So it's
queen.
like being, the president's wife's aide,
The chief of staff to the
like,
first
so
lady.
Exactly. So she had enormous influence. She was an enormously influential woman. So how did she get there? That's my exploration. I look at, okay, this is what we know. She was an enormously influential person. She had the confidence of the queen. How did she get there, given her various,
It's good that you shared that,
problems?
because
So
my heart has been hardened to Mantara for a long time.
Yeah, Kaustubha's really got issues with Mantara. He talks about it
Mantara, she just
regularly.
screwed everything up.
Mantara! You're acting like Mantara, Raghunath. Yeah, but it's also, it's also cool. The way you're describing her. Go on.
Yeah, I'll just read the very first line from my book is, Mantara had another name once, but in the year she turned 15, her back reached its terminal crookedness, and from then on she was called Mantara, the hunchback.
No.
So that's the first line, kind of like, she had another name once. She was something else. She had a lot of other potential, but she was very much defined by her physical deformity, or
that was her nickname. Maybe it was a
ailment.
What does Mantara mean? Maybe it's a cruel nickname.
Hunchback.
Like they used to call
Mantara
me
means hunchback.
Oh,
so
really?
That's her point.
There you go.
What it means?
Yes. Yes.
Well, on
Stay
the
with
bus,
us, Raghunath.
on the bus, they used to call me Frog Eyes.
Frog
Isn't that
eyes.
horrible?
Right.
What do you think? I
Oh.
kid you not. Frog Eye. Hey, Frog Eyes. People are cruel.
Hurt people,
Yes,
hurt people.
yes.
Raghunath.
Hurt people, hurt people.
That's right.
Yeah, no. If one person says Frog Eyes on the message board, I'm gonna lose my mind right now. Okay, I just want you to know that. I want to
But
hear that.
Raghunath-
I was being vulnerable. I shared something vulnerable with none of you guys. Now zip it.
But now even the
Okay,
person
anyway.
that called you Frog Eyes, they called you Frog Eyes for a reason too, right?
Yeah, they have
Right.
a backstory.
That's
They have
the
a
next
backstory.
book I'm gonna write, Raghu.
It's called Frog Eyed Raghu.
Frog Eyes. But you know what's interesting though, if you actually just for you sharing this, when you put yourself into Mantara's mind and the pain she felt, whatever. I grew up with frog eyes. I'm a little short. I tend to be a little clumsy. Okay, big deal. But if you cement yourself to what people called you, or shortcomings with your health or your body or your hair or your big ears or whatever it is, and you start to own that is you can start to create a mind that goes with that as well, a victimization mind. And it's really interesting because you can keep on running with how the world is against me. And I think that's part of everybody's hero's journey as well, is to maybe see, okay, where could this have gone? And we're all on this sort of hero's journey, and hearing your mother and you speak these very vulnerable things live, that is a hero's journey too. You working it out as a daughter, her taking the humble position. Where have I gone wrong as the mother? It's actually very beautiful to witness. And now I'm going to go into Mantara's character or archetype of bitter. She feels like a scarcity. Why isn't Bart the king? Are you a fool? And projecting that, and how her projection makes the whole Ramayana take this hard right turn, a hairpin turn, to something very, very dark. Thank you. I feel a little bit more enlightened today. I'm serious.
Could I ask one last question as we're running out of time? But you write that in your going back to that Valmiki's Ramayana and diving deeper into it, viewing it with Sita as the central character, that in the Sundarakanda is the most fascinating, literally Sundarakanda means it's like the beautiful section of the Ramayana, right?
Yeah.
And you say, so in that section, you reevaluated her character, seeing that she displays special powers there. Could you share with us what were Sita's special powers that you discovered?
Well, the one episode, that a lot of people are familiar with is that really grand, adventurous scene where Hanuman burns down Lanka.
Yeah.
Because of his, tail is set on fire. And, people might not know this, but the reason they set his tail on fire is because they knew that a monkey treasures his tail above all else. So, they set his tail on fire. They're, meaning to kill him, basically, from the tail.
Sounds like you've
onwards.
entered into the mind of the monkeys now too. Like, what would I
Yeah,
value
book
if I was a monkey?
yeah.
What would I value more than anything?
I
My
think Robin has
tail,
said that,
yes.
right? Like they
would
love their tails.
They would actually kiss their tails. Like whenever they were very excited, they would take their tails and kiss them. That's an actual detail from the Valmiki. Well, they were Vanara, so they were, these monkeys, not monkeys, man monkey. That's a different
Yetis,
topic. But yes, of course, and so there, everyone knows that scene. Oh yeah, he burnt down Lanka. He's so cool, Hanuman. But then, when he's done with his frenzy and his madness there, he realizes, wait, my tail isn't burnt. Someone protected my tail. And it's clear from the text itself that was Sita. So she's sitting there in the Ashokavan, imprisoned in the royal gardens.
Mm-hmm.
And from that place, she was able, with her mystical powers, to protect his little tail from burning. So that means that, so then I started thinking about that. I was like, that requires some really amazing skills. I mean, we usually don't hear about her possessing, these mystical powers, but
she's
really,
more than
I
just
was
a
like,
victim, in other words.
That's a real clue. She projected her mental powers, her mystical powers to protect Hanuman. That means that she could track where he was. She could sense where his tail was. She had an ability to sense fire. And, so that really opened up for me other possibilities of, okay, well, what else could she do? And wait, why do we think of her just as a woman when really she was born from the earth? From the very beginning of her life, she made it very clear that she was a goddess first and a woman second. But yet, she has become more of the archetypal, like, damsel in distress, just the princess needing to be rescued, just a woman, just like that. So that's one example of how I really, with text authority, could explain, wait a minute, she had a lot more agency than we usually give her.
Nice.
Wow, it's Annapurna, you didn't realize what you were getting into when you got Vrinda to write this. Like, she is like most capable.
I had no clue.
Oh, well, we're going to have your husband now sing the goodbye song. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
We're going to tell people where they can get the trilogy, right?
Let's talk about this right now. Where can we get this books?
Sitasfire.com.
Sitasfire.com. Available on Amazon or no?
Yes, available on Amazon. Available almost anywhere you can buy books. They're available worldwide.
Awesome.
You can find all the details on our website.
Third one is available.
The third
right
one's coming out April 20th, but it's available for pre-order.
Gotcha.
Wow.
So you can
all right.
get all three.
Makes a beautiful addition to your library. Check these out, Sitasfire.com. I want to thank you personally. Old Frog Eyes wants to thank you for joining us today. And of course, your dear mother, Annapurna, you are so sweet. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing today. If you like our show, this is a community-sponsored podcast. You can go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. And from there, you enter into secret chambers where there's yoga classes, workshops, etc. Even a 12-step Bhakti recovery group.
That'll meet
Thanks,
today at
Vrinda, Sheth,
9:30.
and Annapurna for joining us. And we will see you
Hey,
tomorrow.
one announcement. I'll be doing again at 1 p.m. today, Bhakti 101. If you want the secret codes, write to Mara at Wisdom of the Sages 108.